Hi, friends. Markets have a way of testing us. Some tests are technical, others are emotional, and most are both at once. As we move through another third quarter pullback, a pattern that repeats more often than not, I've been reflecting on what I've learned in my own journey. Recognizing volatility isn't the enemy, how mindset determines results, and why we cannot do this work alone. This week, I share two stories. The first looks back on my own experience navigating volatility, learning to use new tools, and facing down fear. The second reflects on why community and mindset are just as important as charts and cycles. Investor Journey, Learning Through Volatility. When I took over my retirement assets in early 2018, I was tentative but hopeful. The markets were kind at first, which built my confidence until that September. The Trump administration was stirring uncertainty. The Fed raised rates for the first time in years, and suddenly my portfolio was whipsawed. For the first time, I was watching my assets swing without the safety net of a paycheck behind me. At the time, I didn't yet understand market cycles. I didn't know that the third quarter drawdown is almost an annual event, mild in some years, violent in others. That year, it was sharp. By December, the Fed pivoted and the fourth quarter rally was already underway. Fear turned quickly to relief. Since then, I've seen this rhythm repeat: the COVID crash in 2020 and its astonishing 6-month recovery, the inflation-driven correction of 2022, and now 2025's seasonal dip after new all-time highs. What I've come to realize is this: volatility is not the problem. The challenge is how we manage our emotions while it's happening, especially when downturns last long enough to test not just our conviction, but our ability to pay the bills. In 2022, as the market bled lower all year, I experienced the hard reality of drawing from savings in a declining portfolio. It forced me to learn new tools, options, shorts, and hedges. These weren't easy. Options demand precision in both timing and duration. Shorting requires patience and the fortitude to withstand sharp rallies. But learning them gave me something more valuable than immediate profits: an understanding of how it feels to stand on the other side of the market and the emotional resilience required to do it. The lesson: education isn't free. Sometimes the tuition is paid in small losses, sometimes in sleepless nights. But what matters is that each lesson builds confidence for the day when the cycle truly turns. Investor Journey, the power of community and mindset. Last year, I joined a community of investors learning to actively trade both crypto and traditional markets. At first, my goal was narrow: learn the skills, then move on. But a year later, I'm still there because I've discovered something more valuable than strategies. Community matters. Investing is often painted as a solitary pursuit, but in truth, it's one of the most demanding emotional disciplines we'll ever face. Markets are chaotic, headlines are relentless, and the stress of gains and losses can distort our perspective. A community grounds us. It broadens our view by bringing in voices from other geographies, other generations, and other experiences. What feels like an echo chamber in our own minds often dissolves when seen through someone else's lens. One of the most surprising gifts of this community has been the introduction of a mindset coach. His message is simple but profound. Investing is less about markets and more about the self. Fear will make us freeze or flee. Euphoria will lure us into reckless risks. Without awareness of our own triggers, even the best strategy can unravel. This resonates deeply with me. At Women's Wealthy Ways, I often say investing is about empowerment, not just returns. But empowerment doesn't come from money alone. It comes from the inner work of knowing ourselves, our fears, our impulses, our blind spots, and learning to meet the market with steadiness. Community reminds me that we don't have to walk this path alone. Mindset reminds me that even when we do, the greatest challenge isn't the market itself, it's how we respond to it. Investor skills. Corner. This issue's glossary highlights some of the concepts and terms referenced in this newsletter. 1. Third quarter drawdown. A recurring seasonal pattern where markets often dip in August-September before recovering in Q4. Historically, the S&P 500 has averaged weaker performance in this period compared to other quarters. 2. Options trading, contracts that give the right, but not the obligation, to buy or sell an asset at a specific price within a time frame. Valuable for hedging, but sensitive to both price and time. 3. Short selling, borrowing and selling an asset with the aim of repurchasing it at a lower price, profitable in downturns, but risky if markets rise. 4. Mindset coaching, the practice of building emotional and psychological resilience for investing by identifying personal triggers and building discipline. 5. Community investing, leveraging group learning and accountability to expand perspective and improve decision-making. Final thoughts. Cycles remind us that markets are never a straight line. Communities remind us that we are not alone. Mindset reminds us that the real work is often internal. The question I'm carrying into this next season is, how am I preparing not just my portfolio, but myself for the cycle ahead? And I'd love to hear your answer. What tools, communities, or practices are helping you stay steady in these uncertain times? Until next time, stay strong through this volatility. P.S. If you'd like to learn more or get involved in our Friday discussions, send me an email. I'd love to have you join us.